I think a lot of people have grabbed this term bro marketer and applied it to all marketing in a way that is really unfair to marketing on a whole. I am a fan of marketing. I love marketing. I love what it does. I love how it works. I love doing it. I love figuring out the problems and solving, all those issues. There's a lot of baby in that bathwater that we like to throw away, and say, hey, all of that bro marketing stuff is bad. So yeah, I can go through, the tactics of why I think that we still need them. But let me just say that if your product works, you owe it to your potential customers to get it in their hands at a price that is.
So I know you've heard that bro marketing is bad. People throw around the women in bikinis, the men on private jets, and we all love to hate on bro marketing. And I could list 5 names pretty quickly, which I won't, but here's a good name. Rob Marsh is here with us today, and we're going to talk about why not all bro marketing tactics are bad and what that means for your business. Rob, if you haven't listened to him on the previous episode where we got, some nice candid snapshots of how he's built his business, the Copywriter Club, and some transitions and challenges that he's going through in his business right now. He is a direct response copywriter who specializes in email and sales pages. He's written everything from direct mail to TV case studies and a book. He's worked for clients like American Express, Cedars Sinai, and Pluralsight. Today, he writes primarily for tech companies, software as a service companies, and even health supplemental clients. When I looked at the Copywriter Club, if you haven't heard of it, I see the tagline. It's where copywriters go to get better. Better copy, better clients, better paychecks. And maybe, Rob, you're going to change that tagline soon. We'll see what happens. But thank you for coming on to the show a second time. And I'll share the same thing that I shared before when I read your bio. You said you're trying very hard not to have that second donut. And I commented that copywriters always have this little something that tickles your fancy, that, as you called in the previous episode, a pattern interrupt. You being on the podcast has been that pattern interrupt. I would say a nice, fresh, amicable interview. Not that all my interviews aren't friendly and fun, but I've thoroughly enjoyed our first episode together, and I'm happy to welcome you back for a second one. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. If amicable is a pattern interrupt, maybe we should do something really adversarial here and argue and give people something to talk about with this second episode.
Right? Actually, a little bit of a teaser. There may be a more entertaining filter on this episode, on this podcast, coming up in about 4 months, maybe sooner. I'm working on a different podcast format.
Ooh, nice.
One that brings on a couple experts, has a twist in there.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Yeah, I think it's needed. I'm working on it.
Very cool. I can't wait to see what that turns out to be. Well, there's an open loop. There's a copywriting tactic for you. Keep us all listening for at least 4 months till we can find out what's going to happen.
Right? What will happen? And now I've committed myself on public air to actually make something happen. So, bro marketers. I've never met one of these fabled bro marketers. I hear about them. I feel like they're kind of like unicorns. What is a tactic that bro marketers are known and loathed for that you believe actually is good for business?
Well, let's first, I think everybody knows what bro marketers are. You mentioned, the private jets, the big houses, the Lamborghinis, sometimes, fanning out hundreds of dollars or whatever, and really talking about this massive opportunity you've got to get in. And I think those images are actually pretty rare. I mean, there are definitely people out there that use them, and especially in the, biz op kind of world, they're out there for sure. But I think a lot of people have grabbed this term bro marketer and applied it to all marketing in a way that is really unfair to marketing on a whole, and makes people afraid to actually do marketing. And so I've talked about this several times, but I am a fan of marketing. I love marketing. I love what it does. I love how it works. I love doing it. I love figuring out the problems and solving, all those issues. I'm guessing most of the people that listen to your podcast, QUÄY.jo, are marketers who love this thing that we all do. And when we hear people talking about how bad marketing is, bro marketing, whatever, sometimes we start feeling bad about it. In fact, I once gave a presentation, a talk about how marketers can use the tactics that con men, confidence men use in order to do good in the world. And after I gave that presentation, somebody came up to me and said, I don't, I thanks for the talk and all, but you made me feel like I'm a con man. And that was not my intention at all. After hearing that feedback, I'm like, okay, I got to rework this presentation because I was focused way too much on the negative and not on the positive. But there's a lot of baby in that bathwater that we like to throw away, and say, hey, all of that bro marketing stuff is bad. So yeah, I can go through, the tactics of why I think that we still need them. But let me just say that if your product works, so I mean, if your product doesn't work, then yeah, you should not be marketing it. You have no business selling it to anybody. That's bad. But if your product works, you owe it to your potential customers to get it in their hands at a price that is fair, in a way that doesn't take advantage of them, but that helps them solve the problem that they have. And if you do that, then the marketing tactics that you work are going to naturally be pretty darn good.
That is a very, very good point. I think somebody needs to hear that today.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can go on and on about the specifics as well, but uh, if you're serving people, you're probably doing a good thing.
That reminds me of the phrase selling is serving, not my own. It's one that I picked up from a guy I used to work with, but I believe it's true. I believe it's true. I believe we were put here. I believe we have our skills and our gifts and our passions, and we are meant to serve and work with people. And without selling, how are we going to be a blessing and a transformative agent in folks' lives?
So, can I give you some examples?
Please, please do.
I'm guessing many of your guests have heard of this writing formula PAS. The letters PAS it stands for problem, agitate, solve. And I've heard a lot of people take issue with the idea of agitating the pain or the problem that people have, when you're talking to them in marketing. So, they say that when you agitate that pain, you're making people feel bad about themselves. You're making them uncomfortable, which isn't a good thing. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, although helping people understand how bad their problem is, if it leads to a solution, can be a good thing. But obviously, we don't want to cause more trauma. We don't want to make things worse for them. So I would just maybe twist that just a little bit and think about, you don't agitate the problem or the pain in order to make people feel bad. You do it in order to empathize with them and show them that you understand what they're going through, so that you can say to them, look, I hear you. I've been there. If you have actually been there, been through the same kind of thing, or I can empathize with you, and because of that, I have this thing that's going to solve the problem for you, right? Like, that is a sales message that works, and it does it in a way that is helpful. Now, sometimes we do have to help people feel like how bad that pain is, right? And so that in that case, agitation isn't necessarily bad, as long as you're not using it to, traumatize or to manipulate. So yeah, exactly. So other things, like, people talk all the time about countdown timers are a bro marketing tactic, because it makes people feel like they've got to make a decision right now, right? And there is that element to it, but a lot of programs are time bound. They start on a particular day, and in order to help people, decide to join, it helps to have a countdown timer saying, hey, this offer does end, right? And after the offer is over, you can't get it anymore. And so, again, doing it from a place where you're helping your customers, as opposed to trying to, get something out of them or manipulate them into making a decision, is a good thing. So, and we could, same thing applies for, scarcity and risk removal, where we try to, make it an easy decision for people by lowering the price or giving them a free trial or offering a money back guarantee. Like, all of these tactics are effective marketing. And just because bro marketers use them does not mean that they're bad. It means that, we're trying to help people get to a solution that helps them ultimately solve a problem.
I've been helped out of a place of indecision with timers. And so far, the courses that I bought, I haven't regretted purchasing them. I have yet to get a bad one. Maybe that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely bad courses out there. There are bad actors out there. There's a reason why we talk about, bro marketers or any of the other, uh, you know, sobriquets that we use to refer to people. But most marketers are good and are trying to help. Let me give you one other example because I've heard this a lot where people say, well, the product, all you're selling is hope, right? So my mom, before she passed away, had Alzheimer's disease. And obviously, Alzheimer's is a terrible thing to get. There's no hope for a solution. You know it's going to end badly. And as she was starting to deal with this diagnosis and what was going on, she went online and she found some tapes and a couple of books. I think that, it's like brain energy, and the promises there were, helps you remember things. And they may even have stretched the truth a bit into, helps delay the onset of Alzheimer's disease. My mom bought those. And when after she passed away, and I was cleaning out some of her stuff, I found these products. Now you could argue that the products didn't work and it was bad, and she shouldn't have been, sold these products. But I would argue that those products gave my mom something really precious in the years that she was alive, and that was hope. She had some hope that she would find a solution, or that there would be, some way to, if not overcome it, delay the symptoms and the things that she was feeling. And to her, $100 or $200, whatever those things cost, to give her that hope, in some ways was way more precious than an actual solution. If there was a solution out there, could be. Like, hope is an awesome thing to give people. Now, I am not arguing that we should sell products that don't work or that we should manipulate people based on hope. But I am saying that when we give people hope that there is a solution for their problem and can back it up, that's a good thing. And I saw that in this thing that, maybe was a little bit dubious that my mom bought. And again, I think that's a good thing and something that marketers should be proud of.
I agree. I definitely agree. I feel like hope is a force. What's the opposite of hope?
Despair.
I met somebody who had a lot of despair recently. They'll never listen to this podcast, but I remember sitting down with them. It was an old friend, and if the cartoon depiction of the storm cloud that's just following you around and raining on you, this was that person. And I mean, I'm super optimistic, like to meet new people. They were like not trusting of people. And it seemed like what during what I thought was an amazing trip, like everything went right for me, everything went wrong for them in the matter of a day that we were together. Even to the point where we're sitting down for coffee and this weird spiny looking pine cone, not pine cone, seed, acorn thing dropped on our table and was like smashed. I'm like, what the heck? That has never happened to me before. And they were like, yeah, I'm not surprised. This kind of stuff happens. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like we need to not hang out anymore. But to your point, it's definitely good to give somebody hope, and especially so when it's tied with a program that actually can deliver. Um, so I have a question, and I think the listener might have had this question too. Where is the line? Can you speak to that as a copywriter? Good agitation versus bad agitation. How far do you go to agitate a problem for good before it becomes triggering?
This is a little bit like the Supreme Court justice when they were looking at the definition of pornography. They're like, I know it when I see it. Uh, um, so it is hard to say this is exactly where the line is. And I know a lot of us really want to say, yeah, the line is right here, and you can go right up to the line and be okay. And then once you step over the line, everything is bad. And it's just not like that. There's a lot of gray space where a tactic might be okay in one situation, but would definitely be bad in another situation. So, but I would say this: if you're manipulating and you are trying to get people to act, and I would define manipulation as acting against somebody's will, not necessarily, because sometimes we manipulate people to do things that are in their interest, especially as parents. We do this all the time, right? Like, here comes the choo-choo train, and we stick a bit of cauliflower into a kid's mouth instead of apple or whatever, right? Like we manipulate our children all the time. And by the way, our children manipulate us right back. It is a very human thing to do the things that get us the things we want. So we got to be a little bit careful about that. But if you are manipulating people to act against their own interests, or even the way that they want to act, like they would not choose to do this for themselves at this time, even if it would be good for them, it's probably not a great thing. There are exceptions. Like if you manipulate people or a person to stop taking heroin, very few people are going to say that's a bad thing, right? Even though we may be manipulating them. But we're not talking about that kind of a case. We're talking about, selling your product or your service or whatever the thing is, right? And in those cases, we should not be impeding people's free will. And so the dark side of marketing, where we set up these things like the buy button that says I'm 100% in, and then right below it says no, I love failure, or I want to keep failing all my life. Like those dark patterns are ugly and manipulative, and yeah, those are bad. But a button that says yes, I'm 100% in, and then the button underneath that says no, I'm not ready for this right now, that's fine, right? We give people the option to decide yes or no, right? We're not taking away their agency. That's where I would draw the line. And again, if you're trying to get somebody, off heroin, fine, manipulate a little bit, but I'm not talking about that stuff.
Now I'm thinking of a button at the bottom of my upsell page that says like, "Yes, I want these Canva templates," and then right underneath it says like, "No, my ads already have enough scroll stopping power already," or something like that.
And to me, that feels probably okay, right? Because if I do feel that way, like if I don't need Canva templates, or maybe I have another option and I can create my own and I don't need your particular templates, right? Like that's okay. My ads, you're not really being manipulative there. But if it said no, I never want to succeed, or
Oh, oh.
no, I'm happy with ads that don't perform, right? Like that takes that decision and turns it into more manipulation, where we're making people feel bad about the thing that they're doing, as opposed to giving them a yes no decision.
Yeah, it's like we're beating them up, we're bullying them, like, we wouldn't do that in real well, hopefully, we wouldn't do that in real life.
Yeah, I don't think that you would. I mean, maybe there are some. We've probably all been at the used car lot, right? That you get that kind of a tactic, but that doesn't work really online, for selling. So, again, going back to the original question, where do we draw that line? It depends, but most of us know it. When we start to cross that line, when we start to feel like, that we know we're crossing that line when it's there, and we should probably take a couple steps back.
You know, you inside of the Copywriter Club help well, I saw the group, it's at 15,500 members right now, and you're helping copywriters there get better copy, better clients, better paychecks. What do you typically say to the person who does have a program, but they're just a bit shy about it, selling it, promoting it, speaking about it? Because I've coached people in similar situations, and I know somebody is listening right now who is way, 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 way too far on the other end of the spectrum, like scared to even talk about what they're great at, what they can help at, because they think that if they say even one or two things or send out another email, that they are the sleazy car salesman.
Yeah, that's head trash in my opinion. There, and obviously we need to work through this stuff in order to get there. But as I said when we first started talking, if you have something that genuinely helps people, you owe it to them to get it into their hands if you can, at a fair price, in a way that is reasonable for them, right? So, can you imagine somebody having the cure to cancer, and this is an extreme, but having a cure to cancer and saying, well, I don't really want to talk about it because, the team helped me get there, and I actually used some ideas from other people, before I came up with my own breakthrough. And, so I'm just gonna, people will find it if they really like me or they hear, other people talking about me, and I'm okay with that. Like, of course not. This is a thing that could help so many people, right? So why not shout it from the rooftops? In saying that, obviously, do it in the right way. Do it in a way that is comfortable for you. But there is definitely a way that you can get the word out, whether it's with things like Facebook ads, which you are so good at and helping your clients do, and like, breaking that pattern or getting noticed and introducing these ideas and getting them onto a sales page. Like, there's a skill set. And if you didn't share your skill set with marketers who need it, then there are, how many clients do you have, in your groups? Like dozens, maybe hundreds of people who will not sell as well as they could. And you owe it to them, QUAY.jo, to help them if you can. Obviously, at a fair price, obviously in a way that helps them, right? Like, you're not going to be taking money and selling something that doesn't work, or continually running ads that fail and fail and fail and keep going, and keep going back to them and saying, hey, just one more try and we're going to get this. Like, you're being very real about this, but you owe it to people to use your skills to help them. It's just part of being human and living in a community.
Agreed. Agreed. I want to let the listener hear about this emotional copy workshop. Can you share why that would be beneficial and why somebody should go? I know I could, but I'll let you share it.
Yeah. So emotions is one of these uh, ideas for capturing attention, for keeping attention. We want to work with and learn from and hang out with people that we connect with on an emotional basis. And copywriters are often told, hey, here's how you write emotional copy. Add the word, if you want people to feel angry, add the word anger or mad, or some related word like that to your copy. You want people to fear, missing out on something. Yeah, talk about how you're frightened or scared, right? Like, they're told to pepper in these words. I'm just going to say it. That doesn't work. Like, whoever is telling copywriters to do that is feeding them a line, because I just said anger, mad, frightened, scared, and I guarantee you there's not a single listener. You're not angry or scared or frightened, right? Like, we just use those words and it doesn't change the emotion. But when we tell stories, when we are vulnerable, when we do things that I share 3 tactics in that emotional copywriting workshop, when we do these things, we actually can evoke emotions. And it all starts with knowing what emotions people are feeling, and then what emotions they need to transition to in order to buy. And so, yeah, that I put together a workshop to help people do that. And again, this taps into a lot of these marketing tactics where you're not trying to be manipulative, you're trying to make a connection. In some cases, you're showing your own vulnerability, or you're empathizing with the problems. And we do that with emotions. And that's what that workshop is all about.
I definitely, of course, coming out of this conversation, feel like, listener, you need to go to this workshop. I'm going to go to the workshop because ultimately I know that I can be a better, I guess I am a copywriter, huh, Rob? I always feel like copy is so difficult for me, but I want to make sure that my copy is better and motivate people to take the decisions that I know they will make that benefit their business.
Yeah. I mean, these skills, I think, help anybody. If you have a product or a service that you're marketing, having better headlines that connect emotionally, having that hook that is, connects to you, or how you feel or how your clients feel, just makes it so much more effective. It's one of those things that gets people involved with the message you have to say, and then assuming that you can really help them, gets them to that point, that buying decision where they can opt in. I actually put together for your show, QUAY.jo. I was working on this last week. I started going through and thinking, what would be really helpful is a playbook. So that workshop sells for like $27. And I thought, if I had a playbook that I could give to your listeners that basically walks through the 3 steps of how do you write an emotional headline or an emotional hook, and so I kind of created that, and then I went into chat GPT and I actually wrote out some prompts, so that if somebody doesn't want to actually do the exercise that helps them figure out the emotion, helps them with the hook or the headline, and then to connect it to the rest of their ad message, can actually have ChatGPT or Claude or Mistral or whatever the AI bot that you use do it for you. And so I put together this little playbook, and I didn't tell you this before we started recording, so, but it's available at thecopywriterclub.com/smile. Now, I will say it's not free, but it's also not $27. And the reason that it's going to be $1, and the reason it's $1 is because, and you probably know this too, there are so many lead magnets and things out there that I've downloaded into my downloads folder that I have never looked at. And it's because they're free, and I know I'm going to get to them someday, and I never do. I think I have 1,100 last time I counted in my downloads folder of stuff that I've looked at and thought, oh, I'll get to that someday. We value the things that we pay for. And so even though it's almost free, it's $1. And if anybody wants that playbook, they can have it. And if $1 for some reason is, a hurdle, too hard for you, message me directly and I'll figure out a way to get it to you.
$1. No, 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 no. I do not support that. $1 is good. Please don't message Rob saying, "Can it be for free?" Like, you didn't know this, Rob, but very recently, in the past 2 months, I've basically moved away from my other free lead magnets for the same reason, and I can say this with the listener, you're listening to me right now. If we were in the same room, I would say, all the free lead magnets that you have, it's like we've been going for dopamine hits, and we feel like, "Hey, I made the move. I gave my email address. I got this free lead magnet. I'm doing something to grow my business." No, no, you're not. Not if you're not using it. I've done it before. You just admitted to it, Rob. Like, how many times?
So many times.
Yeah.
It makes me sick how many times I've been through somebody's funnel and not ever opened up the thing I downloaded.
Yeah. And putting a little bit of skin in the game, and honestly, $1 seems super, super cheap. Like, but it's very, very true. Like, the things that I've paid for, there's just something in my mind, "I paid for this, I better make use for it," and, so I made that move too, yeah, about 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's again, we value the things that we pay for. Obviously, the workshop itself has so much more, and there's a little bit more skin in the game. If you pay $27, you're probably going to watch that. There's some bunch of bonuses that you can get along with that too. So you can check that out when it's ready. But if that feels like too much of a commitment and you just want to see how do you write an emotional hook, emotional headline, go to copywriterclub.com/smile.
/smile. Okay, that one is going in the description. If you could leave one encouragement about persuasion, what would that be for the listener?
I would suggest that the more you can learn about being persuasive would be a good thing. And I'm not just talking about for marketing your business, but persuasion is how we relate to people. If my wife wants me to empty the dishwasher, it helps if she has a little bit of persuasiveness to the request, right? If you just make a demand or whatever, then it doesn't work. And we apply this to everything is sales, everything is marketing, everything. And that sounds really harsh to say it that way, but the way that we deal with other people is us helping them get what they want, them helping us get what we want, vice versa. Those relationships are all about helping each other. And the more we know about persuasion and how to persuade people for their benefit and for ours, the better. So yeah, if you find a book on it, if you find courses to look at on it, even write free articles online, whatever, the more you can learn about persuasion, the better.
Yeah, agreed. I was just thinking and smiling. If I hadn't done the work to persuade my wife, look at all the good that wouldn't have come into the world. I'm thinking about my kids that I miss.